I believe that in 2 years, every person that actually has access to mobile devices and technology will be using AR in some way or another.
Every one of us.
Every one of us.
By 2025, augmented reality is going to be a $200 billion a year business, and industry leaders like Galit Ariel are at the forefront. This creative and strategic thinker started her career as an industrial designer, working for the top-tier studios. But she grew up wanting to understand and shape the world. This led to her first book, Augmenting Alice. It's focused on the future value of AR to society. She's a sought-after speaker, prognosticator, humanist, and thinker of big thoughts. And she believes that as we move into the future, we will use AR for good, for evil, and for entertainment.
Oh, what did you do?
I gave you a skeleton!
Defeat!
Victory!
Congratulations. How important is this kind of consumer gaming experience?
We're talking about a whole new type of interface where we're trying to take behind-the-screen interaction and the infinite potential of digital content and try and interact with it in the real world. So there's a real learning curve for developers, but also for consumers.
This is a walk before you run type of technology.
Yeah.
Okay, so when we run, what does this technology look like?
Oh, we're talking about every single object in the physical world becoming an interactive interface. We will be able to superimpose whatever digital interaction or function we would like to have on top of any physical asset or space.
But I don't want to be walking around downtown like this.
We already are using mobile devices, handheld mobile devices, in quite a fluent way. It's definitely Pokemon Go.
Perfect example of that thin edge to the wedge.
Exactly. When we alter the way we experience the world, we alter belief systems, we alter the perception of reality and identity, and that's a big deal.
So I suppose you titled the book Augmenting Alice because this is a pretty deep rabbit hole.
I believe that augmented reality will actually allow Wonderland to come to us.
So the marketing industry must be all over the idea of augmented reality. Not just because we want to be able to give people what they're looking for, but also, as marketing's all about, manipulation of what we want.
We're talking about the idea of integrated product placements in your reality, but not necessarily just as the product itself, but values related to a brand or an experience or certain triggers. Consumers are demanding more and more from the platform and brands they're engaged with. They want something meaningful. They want to get something back. They really feel they deserve it, and the product is not enough. This is where we have to ask ourselves, to what level do we want to augment the world? Not just personas, but the entire environment around me.
So how do we get to 5 years from now or so, your expectation that all of us are going to be using AR in one way, shape, or form?
In the future, we will see interaction and communication that is multisensory. The space will become a playground for communication.
So if this is the future, when we're wearing augmented reality glasses like this, what's it look like?
We can have new experiences and filters integrated within the physical space.
So I could have an historical filter.
You will be able to experience this market as it was 50 or 100 years ago.
I can imagine, though, perhaps stuff that's more valuable is the information about the products themselves. So if I'm in the market for some cheese, I don't know that much about cheese, but this is where this technology comes in.
Yeah, you can find out about how this specific cheese is produced or how to pair it with other foods or cook it.
Okay, so that's valuable, but for someone like me, I need a personal assistant. Hey, Andy.
Hi, how can I help you?
What do you got?
Lots of steaks.
Awesome. I think we're gonna need those wrapped up. Thanks, Andy.
Yeah.
No problem.
So that's all well and good, except my concern is that with all these things that pop up, that we're going to find ourselves in a scenario where, for example, this orange has an ad on it.
Well, we have to put a little bit of common sense. Sometimes an orange can just be an orange.
So if we have brands manipulating what we see in front of us, how do we prevent just a glut of advertisements in our lives?
There are three things that we really need to consider when we are adding augmented content into the physical world. AR must be consensual and honest. AR must be respectful to the physical. Augmented reality creators are accountable for any undesirable consequence, but for that you have to make hard choices, and the return of investment can't only be monetary, but needs to really create value for the user and for the society. Every emerging technology has a risk to it, but we can also see a lot of fantastic cases of how this technology is really applied to create civic good.
The healthcare segment is a great place to look for examples of AR being used for good. Innovations that range from training and advanced surgical procedures to patient safety and reducing anxiety in kids. At Holland Blue Review Kids Rehabilitation Hospital, Azadeh Kushki from the hospital's Institute of Biomaterials and Biomedical Engineering is using AR in her work with kids with autism spectrum disorder.
This is something that we call Holly.
Okay.
Holly is an augmented reality technology to support children with autism with social interactions. It's using speech recognition technology to understand conversations, and then it will prompt you appropriately for responses. You want to be able to practice those skills in the community and at school, and not just be in a clinical situation.
This is one of the most exciting technologies that came through the pipeline in the last, or re-emerged, let's say, in the last few years.
I need you to show me how this works.
Sure, so the prototype that you have on is programmed to mimic an interaction in a restaurant settings. You can use the Google Glass to complete an order. You'll see a number of responses that you'll be prompted with, and then you can choose one of those responses. May I take your order, please?
I would like a burger, please.
What kind of burger?
Cheeseburger, please. So that simple interaction, I can imagine, removes a tremendous amount of anxiety in someone with autism.
For some children, this might be helpful in terms of supporting them with independence and with reducing some of the stress that may be associated with the interactions.
There are a lot of wonderful medical applications to augmented reality, including helping both the doctors and the aides and the patients themselves.
So what does it mean for a child to walk into school wearing something that makes them look different than everybody else?
Interesting. The idea that you don't necessarily want to draw attention to the diagnosed disability, whatever it may be. You want to focus instead on integrating that child into society as any other individual in a crowd.
The biggest impact of Industry 4.0 will probably come from users and not from industry leaders, because we are now enabling exponential technologies at the fingertips of almost every single person. We don't really know what they're going to do with it, and hopefully we won't get punked by them.